With the Orioles looking for a new captain, I suggest Morgan. This is Cory, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. That would probably be my choice for this season.
It's a little bit of a deep ball. I don't know.
No, I liked it.
You gotta think about it for a second.
If I have to go with player, my MVP with a set of initials, it's going to be JD this year. So there we go. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 257 of the O The Anthem podcast. We're coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown, the now shut down LA 110 freeway, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice, giving us a review when that's possible, and telling friends as the best way to help us out.
Absolutely. And of course, you can find more O The Anthem at O The Anthem on Twitter and Instagram. You're listening to us right now, hopefully, at facebook.com/O The Anthem. And of course, you can find all of the videos of podcasts and everything else at youtube.com/O The Anthem. Finally speaking, OTheAnthem.com, where literally everything else resides. It's the source of all things.
Yeah, it's the
O The Anthem.
It's the place you go to. The Mecca, if you will.
The Mecca.
Yeah.
The Mecca of
O The Anthem related things.
At OTheAnthem.com.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I don't really want to get into a lot of it, but you guys might have noticed that we're at episode 257, which by my calculations puts us 3 weeks away from the 5-year anniversary of the show.
Yes.
Which we have done maybe 5 minutes of preparation for.
But hopefully there will be lots of things that happen right before that.
Yes. So 5 years, big 5-year show. A lot of stuff happening kind of in the next few weeks.
I mean,
so
technically speaking, that would be the beginning of the 5th year, though, right?
Yes. It's a 5-year anniversary of the
beginning of season 5, if you will.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Episode 260. That means we've done 5 years of shows. No. That means that we've ended the 5th year.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, geez, yeah.
That'll be the end of the 5th year shows. So,
wow.
that's a long time.
I know. How do you guys put up with us?
I know. Jeez.
I ask that to many people. Just on a daily basis. I'm like, how do you put up with me?
Nah.
Anyway, moving on.
Wait, where were we? I feel like I've stumbled through the intro. I'm very tired. I stayed up watching 2 seasons of Downton Abbey last night. If I was to recommend it, I would say skip it. But there's a movie coming.
I'm looking forward to Rob later in the podcast just drifting into his English.
I mean, I could do a fake accent probably. But
Adam Jonesy left us.
Oh, poor guy. All right. No, that's not even close.
Too tired for it.
Nope, too tired. But yeah, so... Also, the time change, I think, threw me off the night before, and none of my clocks in my apartment are changed. So, like, the phone's changed, but nothing else did. So...
I had that experience. I got in my car for the first time since the time changed this morning, and I was coming back, and I looked at the clock, and I was just like, 11:58. I'm just like, God, I'm making impeccable time today.
Come on, it's amazing.
I was really running around, and I thought it took longer than that, but I guess that didn't take any time at all. And then I was just like, oh, wait, that's right. Yeah. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, so I did the dumb thing where you're watching and you're like, you know what? These are like 45-minute episodes. I can get another one in. It'll be 12:30, but I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Except it was 1:30. Because the clocks are still back.
I kept talking to Ray. She was like tired at like 1:30 last night, as people usually are. Normal people. And I said to her like, well, technically speaking, it's not really 1:30. It feels like 12:30. And she's like, shut up your mouth. It's like, we're going to bed.
Opposite, though.
We're going to bed.
No, it's the opposite. Right?
No, we skipped ahead.
Oh, so it feels... Yeah,
so you lost an hour.
Yeah, but,
But I mean, like, the actual time that has passed, like, it had only been 23 hours since...
Yes, since the time change.
Right, so it felt a little bit off.
Anyway, so where were we? 5-year show, so keep your eyes out for that stuff coming, and... I don't know.
We'll have more.
I feel like there was more of an intro, I suppose.
We have things that we're tinkering with, and
yes,
changes are coming. But good changes, and if anybody wants something in particular, now's the time.
Yes, we're gonna do drastic changes. Yeah. Tinkering is not the answer. Drastic changes. I've heard you. I've heard your calls. I've gotten your emails. I've seen your tweets. yes, I will be shaving Cory's head in the middle of the night. So that will be one thing.
I'm going to do it on my own. Just leave
me to it.
Yeah, give me an opportunity.
Leave me be.
I just wanted this part to grow out a little bit more so it didn't look too like...
I think you're
Because the concern was if it was too short here and then you shave like the rest to like match it, then I'm going to look like kind of balding.
I mean, only if you're balding.
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean like it's going to have that like cue ball look in the head, and I'm trying to keep it like your length where it's like a little bit, but not like... super short, you know what I mean?
Yes, the perfect haircut that I have manicured over the last
the one I will get cut
years.
like that in like a week, and then we'll never cut it ever again.
I mean, it's
just be like Willie Nelson. I'll just get pigtails.
I'm not going to, but I could
braids.
Run my hand through it and then just basically go womp womp womp, and it'll all just lay back down again perfectly. Trained.
Yeah, many years of training on that hair.
Yep. Anyway, so let's go ahead and dive in to the topics of the week. And of course, that means we're going to start off with a little sports ball. All right.
Yeah, so mentioned in the intro.
Yes.
Adam Jones is finally a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, he's finally a member of a different team after being with us for 8 years.
Longer than that.
Is it? I thought he was three and then 6, right?
When was the Bedard trade?
That would have been 2009, maybe 10 years.
Yeah, I feel like it's been 10 years. That just feels more right to me.
Yep. Because he was really young when he came too, right? He's in his mid 30s now, old guy.
Well, he was like 21 or something like that when he made the team.
Yep.
And I feel like he's like 32 now. He's like our age, so he's been at it for a while.
He's an old man in baseball terms.
Can't handle anymore.
Man, this guy out here, I don't even know how he puts on the cleats anymore. He's one of the oldest players in the league at 34 years old. Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Sometimes I wonder, like Miguel Cabrera, who's like 38 right now. Like sometimes I feel like he just like walks into the clubhouse and he has like the same sort of thing that like I have going on, like somebody else's day on the radio and they're listening to like Little Yachty. He's just like, what the fuck is this shit? I mean, Spanish, obviously. What the fuck is this? Are we that dumb?
Been in the league 20 years, not a word of English. Just no, all Spanish. Don't care. Yeah. Also,
he knows English. He just in the clubhouse. I imagine he's more likely to speak Spanish than he would be to.
There are times when I sleep wrong and I wake up and I'm just fucked up for 2 days. Can you imagine like being a professional baseball player and just be like, oh, nope. Slept wrong on that back last night. I'm gonna need the trainer to get in there and work that out.
I felt that way about hockey. I played hockey, and for like a whole week, I'm just like, I see the Caps playing on Wednesday and then Friday, and then I'm just like, I can't do that.
How are you doing this? You are super, man.
Maybe I can go and touch the Stanley Cup now because I know I'm not gonna have any chance of actually winning one in my life. You know, like because if I can't handle a Wednesday game followed by a Friday game, then clearly...
If that's the rule, I got a lot of things you could finally touch. The Beastmaster course, an average gymnasium, the gym downstairs.
I go there frequently. Mm-hmm. The Beastmaster course, obviously, I can't be involved with because it's just not difficult enough yet.
Oh, right.
Anyway, getting back to Adam Jones.
Sure, yes. Adam Jones, of course. Yes.
You know, I watched the video that the Orioles posted, like thanking Adam today, and I have to admit I got a little bit verklempt for the moment because it really feels over. Like as much as like Manny leaving, our best player, sort of made it feel over in our regard. Adam was the heart and soul of this team.
He was where they started rebuilding around him, basically.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's sad. It's the end of an era. But he'll go on to Arizona, where I'm sure he'll make a big impact. 1 year, $3 million contract.
With incentives.
Sure, yeah. Not the most interesting piece of baseball news this week. Bryce Harper going to the Phillies, which I think we talked about last week.
Yeah.
But a factoid.
What we didn't mention last week, something that I really enjoyed and wished I had brought up last week was during his introductory press conference. Did you hear about this?
No.
During his introductory press conference, he's talking about how he wants to win championships with Philadelphia.
Sure. Yeah.
As every big player comes in and says like, oh, I intend to help this team win a championship. And he's going on and he says like, like it's just going to be great. It's a great group of guys, and I think we have the chance. And I can't wait to bring a title back to DC.
Oh,
and he just kept talking, and nobody stopped him.
Yeah,
but that's sort of like it's funny to like. It'd be like if when Johnny Damon left the Red Sox to go to the Yankees.
Yeah.
If he was just like, I can't wait to bring a championship back to Boston. Like New York would not handle that.
No.
But Philly's like that kind of weird place that like they don't take no shit and they get on everybody's case. They throw snowballs at Santa Claus. But at the same time, Bryce Harper has like a Freudian slip about DC and they're still like, he's a fucking human being. Will you let him go?
I think there is also a level of like autopilot, right? Where he's like been saying DC
for so long. Yeah.
And you just get in there. Yeah, guys played really well out there. And I mean, there's some, you win some and you lose some. And, really, we're going to be excited just to get back on the flight, get back to DC and go back to work. Honestly, just every day you get out there, it's just an opportunity to win or lose. And hey, wait, did you say DC? Yeah,
Excuse me, Bryce. Do you know where you are at the moment?
Do you know where you are and where you're going? But I mean, in the end, though, that's what he's been doing. Don't say fuck on national TV. That's the number one thing. He's just sitting there like, yes, we played really good, and fuck those guys. There goes your Nike sponsorship.
I knew exactly what had happened. Every one of us had said something stupid like that before.
Yeah.
Just very often our stupid thing is said in front of like one person as opposed to everybody at a press conference.
I don't know what to do with my hands. What should I do with my hands? Okay.
You can just keep them.
Okay, fair enough.
Went really well today.
I ran really well today. I'm very, very thankful to the team out there. They really helped me. They really gave me a good race car out there today, and
felt like a rocket ship.
I felt like a rocket ship. I just wake up and I piss excellence, and it's definitely from later in the movie than that. But the interesting factoid I heard this week, and I know you're going to defend it, and that's fine. But by the way, are we muted right now?
No.
Does that mean it's active or muted?
This is record arm.
Mm-hmm.
Here's mute.
Oh, now we're muted. Now you guys.
No, we're now. If I went like this, then I'm muted. Rob, I know what you're doing. I can hear your lips smacking.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that we're being heard. Because, as per usual, someone had to remind someone to press the record button when we started. Anyway, the interesting factoid I heard this week, and I know you're going to defend it, is when Bryce Harper's contract ends with the Phillies, the Orioles will still be, after, mind you, the 2031 season.
Yeah, 13 years.
Ooh. The Orioles will still be paying Chris Davis another $10.5 million.
Yeah.
For that his amazing work on the team thus far.
Mm.
Now, I say that, but in the end, we might not, because if we're lucky, we can unload this amazing player to some team who really needs a big bat in the lineup.
Bring, bring. Hello, Arizona.
Who's looking to go to the World Series and needs a guy with the questionable ability to file paperwork on time? A guy who gets you right into the playoffs and then fails a drug test and leaves you hanging. Because boy, do I have a very expensive option if that's what you're looking for. Smartly overpaid option.
No, you don't need that Fiat. I got a way more expensive unreliable car.
Listen, if you really want a car that's going to break down all the time, let me show you this WRX. It's a sport edition, and the clutch, completely unreliable. Oh, who knows? Yeah, you might get down the road 5 miles, or it might be 50,000.
But listen, when it's working well, it's really working well.
Oh, it's going to look so good, and it's going to look great in your driveway. It won't be drivable, but it'll look great there.
Other people will drive by and look at it and be like, wow, that's a nice looking car.
Yes. That's basically Chris Davis. I mean, he looks good in the dugout, and then he gets out and puts that button on his shoulder, and not so much.
I'm curious what happens with Chris Davis this season, just with new people and more analytics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Perhaps they can find something that makes him less of a disaster than he was this past offseason.
I do like that they dumped so much money into him and the big bats.
Not only that, but bidding against themselves too.
Yeah.
Which is, I wish that worked for me once, where like
somebody's just like, what? No, you're not going to take our money? How about more money? Like, what?
Be like, we'd like to pay you $1,000 to show up on set on Wednesday. And it's just like, ooh, I don't know. Somebody else might pay me more. All right, well, $12,000. Like, what do you need to show up on set on Wednesday? All right, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll be there.
If you say so. But after all of that money spent on the big bat, then this preseason looking like a let's play a little small ball. Let's get some guys on and be aggressive on the base pass and less of a home run team.
Yes.
But that's what you have to do with a bunch of young guys, I guess. Still.
Yeah, I mean, this Orioles team is going to be a little bit hodgepodge because it's going to have a lot of different elements involved in it. But also, it just as a...
By hodgepodge, Cory means, come on, 48 wins. 48. It's such a low bar. It's such a low bar.
I need to find out what the over-under in Vegas is.
Oh, to win, I can't even imagine. Like 10,000 to 1 to win the American League Championship.
Oh, I'm totally making that bet, by the way.
But can you imagine? It's got to be something like that, like ridiculous.
It's probably not
win season. They've done nothing in the off season. They've given up the big pieces of their puzzle for nothing.
I bet you it's still 500 to 1 or something like that.
I mean, that's still ridiculous.
Oh, I know it's still ridiculous, but I'm saying like it's not.
There are 32 teams,
but I'm saying like
16 of them are competing for this particular game.
To get better than 500 to 1 odds on any team ever is like pretty. That's what the Browns were getting to win the Super Bowl. So
and then then it kind of showed up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yes, there's only 16 teams competing, and there's a chance the Orioles could get it. But Time Hop gave me a story from a few years ago, that the Orioles were petitioning in the winter meetings to do a shift of the divisions.
Yeah.
To get out of the American League. Basically, let's break up this juggernaut that is the American League East.
That would be a horrible idea, by the way, just as a thing.
I believe you argued that exact point the last time we brought it up.
Because just as a fun example, say we're Tigers fans. And this isn't to make fun of any team in the AL Central there, but nobody really gets excited about the Twins coming to town.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's going like, oh, man, we got a big series against Twins. Can't wait to get there. Can't wait to tell Byron Buxton what's up in the outfield.
I mean, didn't they have that catcher for a while that was getting everybody fired up?
Mauer,
yes. Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, yes, but I mean, like, the Twins are never going to be the Yankees.
Okay,
and the idea of the Yankees coming to town is always like, you know, like, oh, it's the Yankee series this weekend. We gotta really bring it this week. Like there's nothing like that in any other. There's no teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox anywhere in baseball. And
what if we shifted the divisions and we took out Dodgers, Giants, Yankees, Red Sox, and put them in their own division,
just all by themselves?
That's the murderer's
the haves
row division.
And have-nots.
Yeah, you guys just eliminate each other on the way to the playoffs, and then only one of you makes it in. And then maybe we'll sprinkle around a championship to somebody else, to one of the small market teams. You know, it's like I don't know. You know, like a round robin style where you let the girls.
See, but the problem is
you let
that
the girls kill themselves in Mario Kart.
See, the problem is that you get the like the Yankees were bad for the 80s.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a time where these teams are bad again, and like you can't constantly be winning. There's some point where you have to set back and like.
And when that time comes,
so you're punishing the Yankees for excellence in the past, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be one of the haves forever, kind of thing. You know,
when that time comes, the Orioles will still suck, but they'll suck a little bit less, and then we'll get another 1983. You know what? There.
You know what might make a more interesting idea is, and I just thought of this right now, is making a buffer for teams that win the division or make the playoffs.
Okay.
So let's call it 2 games, right? Say that because the Red Sox won the AL East last year.
Yeah.
In order for them to win the AL East again, they have to not only beat all the other teams in the AL East, but they have to win by 2 more games.
Okay.
Than the next closest opponent.
So when the Yankees pull like a 17-game win.
So the Yankees finish second in the AL East, but only back by 1 game. They win the AL East. And the Red Sox go to the wild card or something like that.
To send somebody else to
right. And make it a little bit more like...
And when the Yankees win the division by 17 games, like they did in like 96 or 95, whatever it was.
98 probably.
Was it 98? Then they have to win 19 or the team behind
No. Just like a straight number across the board. So it doesn't depend on how much they finished ahead last time.
That's less fun. It sets a really high bar. It's like, listen, we're coming down the stretch here. Maybe you guys don't play so hard. I mean, yeah, it could be great. We could have the most winningest season ever, but also we got to think about the next couple of years. So, maybe just tuck it.
See, like Brett Boone going out there to play for the Yankees.
Pitch. He's going out to pitch for the Yankees.
Aaron Boone. Is it? I can't remember what Boone it is that's managing the Yankees now. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yep. Anyway.
Look, Bob Uecker. It doesn't say on the sheet. To hell with it.
It's one of the Boones. It says it on the back of his jersey. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
Not the Yankees, it doesn't.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Wait. But no, that doesn't make sense because every jersey I see in the stands has names.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's weird. It's weird. Why would they do that?
I also I've also had this conversation multiple times in the last couple of days, just with soccer season starting up again, MLS specifically.
Yes.
I was like, I love the LAFC's design. They have like this Art Deco kind of like black and gold design, which I really dig. Yeah. But I keep saying I can never buy a jersey because even if it's a product that I like YouTube TV, which is the sponsor of the LAFC, which is something that I use and enjoy fine, I still don't want to be walking around like a walking billboard for YouTube TV.
To be fair, though, you're a walking billboard for the Baltimore Orioles now.
Yeah, but that's because that's a choice. That's something that I'm...
It's a choice to support YouTube TV.
Yeah, but it's not there's a difference between like a sports team and like a corporation that like I don't...
Is there?
Yeah.
You're making Peter Angelos richer right now just by wearing that.
And hopefully it goes into the team.
It won't go into the team.
If me watching YouTube TV made LAFC better, then...
They got one chance to blow a big check. And what did they waste it on? Chris Davis. God damn it. Anyway, before we go too deep off the too far off the deep end, another Baltimore Bird.
Yes.
Heading to the Arizona desert.
Yes.
Different sport, different team. But Terrell Suggs heading to the Arizona Cardinals next season.
Yeah. And it makes sense. He's from Arizona, I believe, originally. At Chandler, if I remember correctly.
How'd you pull that from?
Went to Arizona State.
Somebody check for an earwig.
Ain't nothing. I got it. I'm good. I'm good like that. I mean, like, I imagine this is just him wanting to go home and be in front of his family and friends and stuff like that for the end of his career.
This is probably his last contract, right?
I mean, there were thoughts as to whether or not he would be able to play another year coming into this season.
Yeah.
So, maybe the Cardinals said, like, hey, listen, we aren't going to be very good, but, you can come here and play for a year. And
also, if you have a couple of young guys there that could learn a thing or two from Terrell.
And have a nice pass rusher to learn some shit from.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know what they went in the draft or what they look like. But again, if you're like, you know what, we know we're not going to be good. We also have no money right now. Like, there's nothing that we're spending. So let's spend a little bit on this guy. And we get a coach and a player in one.
Right.
And he can help these young guys. We know he's going to get a year and he's going to retire, but we'll help these young guys grow a little bit. It's the Greg Zahn.
He can teach them all about how to get away with domestic abuse and not get suspended.
Oh, now that's just...
What?
That's a little too much.
It happened. I'm not...
I mean, it's the NFL. Everybody who gets domestic violence gets away with it.
No, not everybody.
Not smoking pot, though.
Don't smoke pot. I think we've had multiple conversations about Ray Rice and Kareem Hunt and others that have proven that. God, if I was a domestic abuser, though, I would be so happy if I got away with it prior to it becoming an issue.
Yes.
Like
don't beat your wife on camera. That's the rule.
It's like as soon as Ray Rice happened, he's just like, "Well, shit, I can't ever do this again."
Woo. I got away with it.
I've learned my lesson now.
Yeah,
I could potentially feel some sort of burden off this.
I mean, it's like Ray Lewis. Like you kill a guy, you get away with it. You don't go killing guys anymore. Something that Aaron, what's his name, did not learn. Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah,
didn't learn. Killed a guy, got away with it.
God, Aaron Hernandez. That's going to be such a fascinating documentary one day when we like look back, when we have time to like process all the little bits of it and like look back on it with a little bit more introspection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho,
moving on.
Yeah, that's sports ball.
Oh wait. All right. So, you had a topic you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
And I've done absolutely no research into this.
Oh, so we're doing that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're saving the other one for the end.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. If you're going to end up on lists, I want to make sure they're not going to take down the seed.
So a big Hollywood story, of which we are members of the extended Hollywood community here.
I mean, I work in Hollywood. I don't know how much more.
The
a writer came into my work the other day.
The Writers Guild of America is feuding right now with the American Association of Talent Agencies or something like that. I can't remember exactly what.
You told me to put APA.
I'm pretty sure
that
that's...
after I finished it, I was thinking, I think there's more A's than that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how they... I think they have some sort of thing like...
Oh, dang. You guys are looking just at me. I totally forgot to move this out to studio mode. So there we go. Now we're good. ATA.
ATA. My bad.
And then I thought it was maybe the AAPA, but it's just one A.
Yeah.
It's ATA, though.
Okay. Anyway. So essentially
Association of Talent Agencies.
Got it. What had happened here, shaking your head at me. What had happened here is for a long time, agents worked for clients. Like they'd sign a client, say...
For a long time.
Yeah, say Aaron Sorkin.
Yes.
And you want to have Aaron Sorkin write your TV show.
I mean, of course I do.
So you would negotiate with the agent to get a price for what Aaron Sorkin is worth. Right. And then the agent would take 10% of that. Yes. That is how... with that idea being that the agent is going to work hard to get every single possible dollar they can for their client.
Yes.
Because their money is tied to how much money they get their client.
And then maybe they refer you to a lawyer who takes 5% as well.
Right.
And that lawyer also gives them a little something on the side for referring.
Yeah.
And your accountant, you get 5% too. And he also gives your agent a little something on the side.
And the basic idea was much like hiring a designer.
Yeah.
Where like they get a discount on the things that they buy that like you're paying. It seems like you're paying a lot of money for a designer. But then when you do the math, you're just like, well, actually, I'm paying less than I would have if I would have bought all these pieces individually.
Yeah, I'm breaking even.
Yeah. And this person is getting paid off of how good of a deal they get, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So... Anywho, the William Norris Endeavor back in the day started doing this thing where it was called packaging. Mm-hmm. So they would take a writer and a director and an actor that they had all signed under the same agency and go to a studio with like, all right, so we got this movie. It's called Jumanji. And we have The Rock. We have whoever directed Jumanji and whoever wrote Jumanji. And it's just like...
I would say let's go with a better example. Let's go with
a package I actually know all the pieces of.
So not Interstellar. What was that one with Chris Pratt? Because that was one that I remember them talking about. I don't know.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
On the ship.
With like Jennifer Lawrence.
Passengers.
Yeah.
So that was a good example because that was Chris Pratt. And I mean, maybe it's not a good example because I don't know the writer. But that Chris Pratt wanted that movie.
Well, so like The Irishman's coming up.
Okay.
Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro. Like that's a package.
Yes.
You put those people together and you say like, hey, I have a script, I have a director, I have a star. This is ready to go.
They all want to be involved in this. We just need your money to make it.
Yeah. You need to just give us the A-OK.
Yeah.
And this started becoming more and more the way that Hollywood ran. And now, in the more recent years, the agencies have started their own production companies.
Well, and I was going to say, just to interrupt, that's also made it one of the things that we've, I think, discussed before about why it's so difficult to break in as a writer. Because you really what you need to do is to be friendly with an actor or a director and have them say, let's say we somehow ran into Chris Pratt. And he was like, I really like you guys, and I'd love you guys to do something. Then he can go to William Morris and say, hey, one of these guys has a script, and the other guy's going to shoot it. So this is how I want you to go sell it to people. And I don't know if you know me, but I'm the head of, 3 of the biggest franchises in the world right now. Right. So when I want to do my little art project with this, you go package it together. And basically, that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. It's the NBA, right?
Yeah.
I need all 3 pieces together at once. And if I don't get those, I'm not giving you any money.
Well, so this is where we're at now.
Yeah.
Packaging has become the way that the industry sort of runs.
Right.
Writers are no longer required to like give up the 10% to their agent. Mm-hmm. But the argument is that because so many agencies now own production companies, and they will essentially finance the project that you're looking to do. So instead of going to Netflix with The Irishman, maybe WME's separate corporation that's sort of like hands reach away is the one who's producing that project.
Right.
And then they're the ones who are going to get into theaters or get into Netflix, but they're the production company on the project.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have an agent now, it's not so much like you have an agent, but you have a boss. Because they hired you onto this job of which they're profiting off of.
One of the bigger issues, though, is when that production company, doesn't actually fund it.
Yeah.
And they are going out to Netflix to get the money to make it because they, in ways, are not looking out for you.
Yeah.
They are looking out for you, but only indirectly in so much as it benefits them.
Well, the other part of this, too, is there was a lawsuit that...
Oh, yeah.
Many people probably don't realize how big of a deal this is going to be. But the show Bones just got what was it? It was an outrageous number.
$27 million.
Oh, it was way more than that. It was like $175 million or something.
No, I
like
thought
that.
each person.
Oh,
each
yeah,
person
yeah.
was awarded like $27 million.
The
incidents.
Yeah, the whole thing was like a $175 million lawsuit.
Yeah.
Or $175 million judgment.
Each of the writers got a bit, and
for the showrunner, for the creator, the writers, the actors, and Bones. Because essentially, what happened is that we've talked about mailbox money before.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're on a big popular show, after a while, it becomes syndicated, or the rights get sold to Netflix or Hulu or something like that, and then the money that the production company gets for those things, they start doling out to the people who worked on it, who get back end
based on the contract.
Yeah. So if you're Emily Deschanel and Bones, then every single month when it's on Hulu or whatever, you're getting a certain percentage of that money yourself.
And for some shows. Like I don't know if Bones is one of these actually. Like maybe Family Guy. There comes a point where maybe your show's off the air, and they say we're going to bring you back, but we want to make a better deal. Fox want to make a better deal, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to say we're not going to pay you now, but we'll give you more of the back end. If this all works out.
Yeah.
If you hit syndication, if we can find a place for this. After life. And of course, when they were making these deals, Netflix was not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And Amazon and Hulu and Netflix weren't fighting over properties. But yeah, so I don't know that that's the case. And I don't, in fact, think it was with Bones. But I know that there are some that they're saying this impacts because people were making really good deals for themselves in their
so here's where it affects Bones. And this is where the judgment comes in. The studio was Fox.
Yes.
And the show was on Fox.
Yes.
And
which is two separate entities, by the way. Yeah.
And the digital rights for Bones was put on Hulu, which is owned 30% by Fox.
Yeah.
Now Fox is separate entities here, but they're all owned by the same company.
Yeah.
It's separate companies within the same mother company.
Yes.
Here. And then, eventually became bought by Disney. So it's another mother company on top of it.
I was going to say, and actually I think that they are within a mother company because it's like Fox Entertainment, which is inside of...
like 21st Century Fox and Fox Searchlight.
Yeah. Fox something else.
And there's like a Fox distribution thing, which is like so when you have a Fox movie that's going into theaters, it gets sold to distribution to Fox to go or whatever. And then that company deals with all the ins and outs of it, and it's sort of becomes separated. But the whole,
and it seems like a scam, but a lot of this is because it shares liability. Like if that movie flops, you might be able to just say, okay, well, we can share the loss over 4 of these companies within our company, which is great. But it's a
US v. Paramount thing. So there was a US Supreme Court decision that basically said that Paramount was one of the 6 studios that were involved in it. The lawsuit, they were just the named member of it, but essentially, all the studios owned theaters. Mm-hmm. So if you were Universal, you would just send your new movies to all the Universal theaters, whether or not there's a demand for it or not.
Right.
So if you had a really shitty movie, you could release it in a theater all across the country because you own the theaters.
And they were doing the packaging thing, right, where they would say, you have to take you have to take this one if
to get Star Wars. You have to take our 9 shitty movies too, kind of thing.
And it was getting really bad, where it was like, if you want Star Wars, you have to take these 17 shitty movies that are going to run up to Star Wars.
Right. So there's a lot of different things involved here, but essentially what has happened is sorry, going back real quick to the Bones thing, because Fox basically sold it to Fox and never spent any time trying to figure out whether or not there were bigger rights out there for Bones.
Yeah.
The judgment realized that 175 with punitive damages and everything like that is the cost that Fox has to pay because they didn't do their due diligence to try and get the best they could for Bones.
Because they sold it to Hulu.
Sold it to themselves, essentially.
To themselves.
Yeah.
And if they had gone into Netflix or Amazon or wherever and said, hey,
how much is Bones worth to you?
Yeah.
They wouldn't have gotten it for Hulu because they couldn't have gotten it for the lower price that Hulu.
And or there was a opportunity that there could have been some kind of bidding process that would have benefited the writers and the showrunner and the creator, but which would not have benefited the people who were paying for it, Fox at Hulu. And again, ironically, I think would have benefited Fox production, but not Fox at Hulu.
Well, it would have benefited Fox production, but it wouldn't have benefited Hulu, which their business interest is to get as many cheap shows on Hulu as possible.
Also, when they made the first sale, if I remember, Bones was still on the air, and there was a chance that would drive up the value of the show on the air and mean that they'd have to pay the talent more for the show that they were still producing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't benefit Hulu. It doesn't benefit Fox Network. It does kind of benefit Fox production, and it definitely benefits the people on the show. So let's not do that.
Yeah.
We can make more money elsewhere.
So anyway, getting back to the WGA, just to set up, now that we've set up the scene a little bit, the writers are upset that the agents are not doing everything they can to try and get them the most money that they can per project.
Right.
And right now there isn't any other, like no other entities are like getting involved in this because I think they're trying to see how it plays out on its own.
Yeah. I think that's probably a smart move.
But essentially the Writers Guild has a 60-day opt-out at any time on the contract that they have with the agents.
Yeah.
And at any point they can say, the deal that we've been operating under for as long as we've been around is no longer void, and we have to come up with a new contract in order to satisfy our writers. And the agents are basically fighting that, saying, you know, like we're getting you more work all the time because us having a production company increases the number of people who are willing to buy your work.
Right.
So there's more buyers with us doing this packaging deal, and we might be able to get you a little bit more money if you're doing the 10% route as opposed to letting us do packaging.
Right.
But that might cancel out with not having as much work. And there's a lot of ins and outs of business things of like writers saying that agents don't get me jobs anyway. Right. I end up getting my own jobs, and just he ends up taking a huge percentage of whatever show we end up making because they're unlike, a producer on it, essentially.
Yeah, unlike some people I know who there are some agreements that say no matter if I get it for you or not, because I've raised your esteem in the industry, you owe me 10% of everything, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Read your agency contracts clearly and slowly, everyone.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So they're as of Tuesday, the day that this podcast is released, they're going to be having another sit down to try and work through the disagreement between the WGA and the ATA. And
none of this is actual negotiation, so to speak, because I think that they haven't given notice on the contract. It's basically like, we are about to, so do you want to start a 60-day clock, or do you want to talk about it now, and then we'll slide into a new contract?
I do believe they've put out the thing to their members that basically says that we're about to do that, or that we're prepared to do this.
Yeah, it's set to expire April 6th.
Yeah.
And hasn't been renegotiated in 4 decades.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I guess they did. I guess they did give notice.
So I guess I wanted you to walk into this a little bit blind.
Yeah.
Given your legal background.
Sure.
And to say, if you were a negotiator on the side of the writers or on the side of the ATA, what would your tact be? Like, where do you think you're coming in as a negotiator on this?
Well, if I had a choice, I would pick the side of the writers, because I think...
Because you're a union guy? And you're like...
I do think that if you're going to find a union that is still powerful in its business the Writers Guild is really it at this point. Like the Teamsters are very powerful, but the Teamsters are also a lot of things.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think IATSE is in the Teamsters union, which is weird. So you go from that
to... I think Teamsters are like sort of like a
it's a group of unions.
It's like an affiliated...
Yeah.
Not like conspirator. That's not the right word. No. But I mean, like, it's what's the word for it?
IATSE is not. It's like the truck drivers on set are members of the Teamsters union.
Yeah.
And not IATSE. That's like the different thing. But
right.
the drivers and maybe like the not caterers, but like...
but I mean, like, IATSE has hundreds of different things in its group.
Yeah. And the Teamsters are very similar in that. But so the Teamsters are representing your truck drivers on set. They're also representing the guys putting those trucks together on the line in Ohio, which have very different interests than the guys who are jokingly standing around.
This is a problem that there was recent negotiations between IATSE and studios about like what's acceptable work and stuff like that. And the editors in particular kind of got screwed in that negotiation. Because there were a lot of things in like how much time is there allowed to be for turnover and stuff like that, and the sort of thing that like you could be required to work 12 hours a day, and if you're an editor staring at a screen 12 hours a day, and then you go home and you sleep for 4 hours, then you come back to work and work 12. It's just ridiculous. But like it's hard. They have to worry about everybody on set as opposed to like they kind of like. The writers have only the writers to worry about.
And that's why they're powerful. Because they say, we have one interest. This is all we're looking out for.
Right.
We have a small but wealthy base that we're pulling from. I guess wealthy is not comparatively wealthy.
Wealthier than sound mixers.
Sure.
I mean, like,
looking at IATSE's membership, there are very wealthy people and there are very not wealthy people.
Yeah.
The guild, the Writers Guild, once you're in,
I would say this, the high end of the Writers Guild is going to be higher than the high end of everything except for directors and SAG.
Yes.
Like that's the third best paying job.
And the low end is still way higher than the low end of most of those things.
The low end, you could be making $50,000 a year writing for a show as like a partnered writer and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say because the minimum's 90. The minimum's 90 now. So,
but I'm saying like they can do like we're only hiring one writer, but if we hire you two as a team, then you can both be on the staff, but you get 45, I get 45, right? Because you count as one writer.
Yep. And then you got to give 10% of yours to your
and then you got to pay taxes on it.
Yeah.
And then you got to get a lawyer and you
live
maybe
in
have
LA.
a manager and you got to afford $3,000 a month for rent.
Yeah, so that's great. I'd love to work on your staff. I'm going to be driving in from Simi Valley, so I'm going to need a little extra time to get there. Okay, so if I had to choose, though, I would choose the writers because obviously I think they are small and wealthy. And also what we've seen in the last year is they are perfectly willing to shut down the business that employs them to take a stand. And I think the best thing they could have done I'm sure that's not why they did it, but they really sent a message last fall and said, no, we will shut this shit down. We don't care. And they got everything that they asked for. Well, they got most of what they asked for in the negotiation with the
studios.
The studios.
Yeah.
So you think that like, if you're the ATA reps, you're not looking at that and saying...
Well, I mean, so I think something that's similar between the negotiations with the studios and the negotiations with the talent agencies is that both the talent agencies and the studios realize that if this ever came to a courtroom... or like a mediator or something like that, then a mediator who doesn't necessarily have a long history of how Hollywood works would look at the setup and say like, what the fuck are you doing to these writers? Like, you've totally torched their entire way of making money. Like, this whole thing is a house of cards.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that when it comes to labor unions, you have to worry about the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board. And these are folks that are used to dealing with Ken Burgerville unionize and is the NFL Players Union actually representing them. And then you get a bunch of writers in there who are explaining or a bunch of talent agencies who are explaining the complexities of this packaging and why it's good.
Yeah.
And basically all the writers have to do is to go in there and say, I feel like they're negotiating against us, and they're supposed to be our representatives.
Right.
And the question then becomes, is there an occasion upon which this power could be abused? And if it can be, then the union is in the right to stand against it. And you never want to be in that position where you're not wrong, but you're wrong. You're wrong as far as a guy who doesn't understand the industry.
Well, I mean, this is you have cashews sitting on your right by the couch at your place. So I come over and I have some cashews, and I the first time I come, I just grab a small handful and I'm just picking at them. Next time I come over, I grab another handful. Every time after that, I just keep grabbing more and more and more until eventually I'm just shaking the whole thing into my mouth.
Yeah.
And then you say, hold on a second. I wasn't going to say, I really didn't want you eating my cashews to begin with, but
I let you have some.
I was okay with you having a small handful here and there because, I'm a nice guy like that. But now you're stealing all my cashews, and this is a bridge too far.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where the agents had the opportunity to, all this time that they've been doing packaging, to lightly just grab one handful and make it work for them. But the problem is they got super greedy, and now this whole thing is like falling apart. And I feel like they were hoping that they would never get called out on it.
Right.
I feel like it's sort of the idea here.
Well, and I think that they are right in a way, because I think the shortness of the career of the writer was such that you might have gotten away with it. The problem is a lot of people are getting, well, one, I don't know that the deals now are as good as the deals that they were getting, which is probably their point. Again, probably their point. But
if you're a C tier writer, like somebody most people haven't heard of, but somebody in Hollywood they would have heard of, kind of thing, then you're getting paid less than you were before.
Right.
And you're also working harder to try and get jobs yourself, and still giving up money to an agent, even though they haven't done anything to help you specifically get the jobs that you're working,
And I think that so there's one. The one thing is that people are making less money, which means that I can't cash out. I can't hit. Craig Mazin.
Yeah.
Gets Scary Movie, or he did a Scary Movie, but he gets
Hangover
1, 2, 3. In 1980, Hangover movies come out, and he doesn't have to work ever again, because he's getting paid a huge amount for those 3 movies.
Right.
And then he can just leave. And he could go write novels if he wants, or whatever.
Yeah.
Not what he wants to do, but he could do whatever he wants, basically. But I think the other thing is that you created a system where we need to package, and I can't package unknown guy with unknown guy and unknown guy. I got to give you something. So I need the Martin Scorsese written and directed script with a star.
Yeah.
So now Martin, who may want to bring in a young writer, they say, listen, he can ghostwrite it for you, but you're the guy. I need your name on the final page
to be able to sell this,
to sell the whole thing. Yeah. So you've made a system where you also need these guys who stick around a little while longer. Also, not their fault, but kind of the way of the world, there's more places to put stuff. So even though I might have said, you know what, I got this great idea, but it's not a network TV idea. Okay.
Yeah.
I got this thing. So I read this really interesting book, and it's about a couple of families who are fighting, and there's dragons. And ABC's like, I see incest on the first page of this book and a CGI dragon. I want nothing to do with this.
We don't have $8 million in episodes.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. But now we have HBO and Amazon who are like, yes, please. How much incest can we throw in? In fact, I feel like last season was a little light on the incest. Let's crank it up a notch.
If you have the cable package with the most possible channels, you have 500 television shows a year that need to be staffed and written and equipped with all the people who work on those shows and actors and everything like that. It's more difficult for the agents to do to find all these places for these people to be if they're not packaging together, which is the argument that they're trying to make too, that you guys complain about this, but we're kind of already a little bit too far downstream to change this.
See now, and I do disagree with that though. I think that if they didn't have packaging, and if we went back to the old way where agents were representing writers, and they said, listen, I think people like you and I would have a better chance of breaking in under the old system than we do now.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, listen, it's rough, but there's this kid with this good idea. And
well, I mean, a package that involves us doesn't involve us at the same time.
Okay.
So, I mean, they would say, like I wrote Living Legend, right?
Yes.
And I put it on the blacklist and a whole bunch of agents call me. And they say, like, we want to get this show on TV.
But Sam Rockwell says, I really want to play Teddy.
Yeah. But I'm saying the idea is that they would say, like, all right, so you got a really great script and a really great idea for a show.
Yeah.
We're going to go sell it. But they're never mentioning my name when they go to sell it. They're saying, we already have Sam Rockwell. We already have Christian Bale. We already have A-list stars. We have this director who's willing to do the pilot episode and be a creative director. This person to show run. They never mention my name at all. But the whole thing is based off of what I created.
See, and that maybe is like a step back from where we are. So that's not the production company. That's the packaging. I want to go back beyond that. I want to go back to where it's like your agent is out there selling the idea of your script. And yeah, he doesn't bring you up because nobody knows who the fuck you are.
Right.
But he's selling just the idea. And someone hears the idea of your show and says, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's a little rough, but I want that. And I want whoever that had that idea, I want them to come in. And maybe we don't make that thing, but let's have them come in and see what else they got that's along these lines, and we'll work it out and see. But you don't get that anymore. Yeah. Now they are buying Living Legend.
Yeah.
And if something happens in the production,
it's something that's ready to go.
Yeah.
It's all the pieces in place.
If something happens there, that doesn't necessarily get you any closer to a career.
Yeah.
If that falls apart in pre-production, what does that get? Because you're not associated with it at all. You've never been in a meeting. This is a Sam Rockwell, Christian Bale, Sam.
Not that they do any TV, but as an example, it works out.
Aaron Sorkin directed show, and like, there's a script. There's a script, right? Like, yeah, there's a script. Okay, good. Let's get moving. You know what I mean? Like, has nothing to do with you. So if that fails in pre-production, you're out. Yeah. And maybe obviously your agent knows that you wrote that thing, and maybe they're like, okay, so that thing, dead. What else do you got? But then it's like back to the drawing board of, all right, now we got to find somebody to put in this and a director. And no, the oldest way, not the oldest,
but I mean, like the old way was, I have this show. I mean, like they'd usually buy the rights of a show from a writer. Yeah. So I would put something on the blacklist, and they're like, "Oh, this show is amazing. Let's buy it." And then they call the agents and be like, "We're looking for people to star in this show. Yes. Who do you got?"
Yes.
And at that point, the agent is working for the writer who is trying to sell this show to whatever network it ends up going to.
Yeah.
Whoever offers the most money, kind of thing, or whatever makes you happy. And you can take less money to be at Fox if you really wanted to, or something like that. But like, and then, the agent gets called and it's like, I need actors for this, or I have a particular actor in mind and you happen to represent them.
Yeah.
How much would it cost to get, Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie? And then they would say, like, here's this quote for currently, this is what Leo charges. And then he gets 10%. Like, that's sort of how it works.
And
like,
that's what
driving that number up is the point of the agent.
And he says that's his quote, but he's got something coming out in 2 months. So you jump on this, or
right, it might be 25.
That may go up when the new thing hits. So now we've guaranteed Leo his next thing before his nearest thing comes out.
Yeah.
Or you run I guess there's risk for both, but it's Leo, so the likelihood is people are going to go see it. It's going to be popular.
They probably won't blame him even if it's bad.
Even if it's bad, they won't blame him. So he'll still get a bigger number than he would have before.
Right.
But like that's the thing is I always go back to all my favorite shows from when I was a kid. And I think for me, it's easier to do TV than movies just because the example works better. But somebody walked in, and the one that just came to my mind is Family Ties. Somebody walked in and pitched the show Family Ties with no one attached to it at all. And they were like, you know what? We love the concept with the young Republican kid and his sister who's a liberal, and the parents are like not political. And it's like, I got it. I'm with you. Great. And then someone found Michael J. Fox and said, let's put that kid in this role. Today, Family Ties has to be pitched with, okay, so
we have
Gotham.
This guy.
Yeah, Gotham, right? The kid from Gotham.
Right.
he's going to be playing this son, and here's the dad, and we might not have all the pieces, but we got a bunch of them. Right.
And we have the top of the call sheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe not even all the top. I mean, maybe it's like, here's the pilot episode. It's we have
one actor ready to go, but that actor is, Cranston. So it's like, oh, well, we want to be in business with Cranston.
Yes, it's Breaking Bad. And it's like, listen, this is a story about Walter White. There's a lot of characters.
We got Vince Gilligan. We got Cranston.
That's all we need. Yeah. So like, that has to have that. But again, like, if we made Breaking Bad in the 80s, which again, they probably wouldn't because nobody would want to touch that in the 80s. But if they had, the concept would be, there's a teacher, he has cancer, he needs to sell drugs to get treatment.
So a part of Hollywood too, for a long time, like pre-packaging, was I have this script and I think it's really good, and my agent thinks it's really good. So let's try and find people who would be interested in signing on and sort of getting like so when they go into meetings, they don't necessarily say, we have this locked up. We have this writer, this actor, this director. But like, hey, you have a really good script, and I think this is the type of thing that Jennifer Lawrence would really like.
Right.
So I'm going to send this to Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm going to get her thoughts. And maybe if she's into it, then I can set up a lunch between the two of you, and you could talk about it and see if you guys would want to go forward with this. And then the agent could go in and say, like, I've already talked to Jennifer Lawrence, and she's interested in this if you guys decide to start making it.
And that's how packaging started. It started with I got a loose yes. That
was the loose version of packaging. It's like we have things that can fall into place if we decide to go forward, but we haven't set this in stone. Like, this is not tied together right now.
I think that the writers, for what it's worth, kept the power there because when you don't have a yes, the actors are in large part kind of like, I got 4 things coming. Whoever gives me a go first, that's what I'm going to take. So if Jennifer Lawrence is the reason you say yes to that script, you need to move fast.
Yeah.
And I think that still benefits the writers. The problem is when that system gets a little more shaky and it says, listen, I know you think Jennifer Lawrence is going to be perfect for this. She's not with William Morris. Let's find the next best thing.
Let's find the William Morris version of Jennifer Lawrence.
And then we're going to loop it together with, I know you want Scorsese. He's not William Morris. Let's find the William Morris Scorsese, and we'll package this all together. And I may know that I could make far more money on a show or a movie. Let's say a movie. Far more money in a movie that has Jennifer Lawrence and Martin Scorsese. But you are now trying to package this with your people.
Yeah.
So that so you get 10% of everybody's cut. And then now you're even saying, we're going to produce it. We don't have the money to actually make it, but we're going to sell the concept of the movie. The movie basically, like, all pre-production's done. We're going to pay for that. We're going to get money for everything else. And that doesn't benefit me. You're taking steps away from where it benefits me. And again, if you luck out and the NLRB has, somebody from the 94 union strike on it, then you have hit the lotto, ATA. If you don't, you're going to have a dude who has been working on an assembly line for 40 years or hearing, the complaints of assembly line workers for 40 years. And he's going to have to sit there and think, you're going to have to convince him that somehow this scheme benefits the actual workers more.
So to close up here, we've sort of talked a lot about the WGA side of this.
Right.
Say you're hired as the lead negotiator for the ATA.
It's hard.
And you're already sort of dealing with an uphill threat. Like, because all the writers are signed on voluntarily to contracts. They can leave at any point. They can fire their agent tomorrow and go get another agent, or just not have an agent. And that's sort of the other shoe that could possibly be dropping here, is that all the writers in Hollywood fire their agents on one day. And then the agents are without writers completely. And the contract, which ends on the 6th, basically leaves without any kind of a thing, and then you're starting from zero.
Well, and one of the stories that I did read, which had less to do with negotiations and more to do with like preparations, is that like some lawyer members of the WGA are like basically saying, hey, listen, we couldn't do worse. So maybe just we'll have some guys step up, and if you're in the midst of a negotiation, we have somebody who can take over for you.
Yeah.
And it may prove that we writers don't need agents.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be horrible? Unless the only reason you need them is because packaging is the way that the industry works.
Well, I'm saying the idea is that if most writers are getting their own work, and the agents aren't taking 10% anymore to set these things up, they're only taking money off of the things that they're packaging together. Why don't we just go without the agents?
Why not? Well, they can. This is a new way for production companies to form. We don't need to be a part of it, and then we'll negotiate with you.
I mean, honestly, you could just give the lawyer 5%. He's doing most of the negotiation anyway.
That's also true. Yes.
I mean, the agent's the one coming in saying that, Leo costs $20 million. And that's about where his part of the negotiation ends. And then they pass it off to the lawyer. And the lawyer is the one who's going like, all right, well, listen, Leo's also going to need 50% up front. He's going to need the remaining balance of this paid every single 2 weeks of the production on Friday. He is going to need his own trailer with a spa built in, and he's going to need M&Ms with only reds and all that sort of stuff. All the little tiny intricacies of the negotiation is actually happening with the lawyer, who you're only paying 5%, as opposed to the agent who you're paying 10.
And on top, by the way, five on top of the 10, not 5 of the 10. And that's the thing is that $20 million can be structured a lot of ways, and the lawyer does a lot to say, hey, Leo, I've turned $20 million that you would get into $30 million worth of benefits that will spread over the next 5 years.
Right.
And if this thing gets really huge, that 30 million turns into 300 million.
Yeah.
If this is the next Avatar, I got you 300 million.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, technically speaking, the agent would also still sort of be on the part of like, if you want Leo for this movie, which Leo normally wouldn't sign on to.
Right.
It's A, 20 million. That's his fee. Yeah. And B, we want 5% back end. And that would be like where that's all the agents. Where we start.
Yeah. But again, I think the lawyers, the guy says,
and the agents are connections too. That's the thing.
That's
I mean, like it's and again, going back to the days before packaging, where it was just like, hey, you got a great script. I think you should meet Jennifer Lawrence.
Sure.
That was a very compelling reason to have an agent, to be able to get in the room with not only other actors or directors or writers or anything, but like, having somebody in the room with you. I got into a conversation about the police earlier today, and how it's best if you're in any kind of trouble whatsoever, even if you think that the trouble might not be that much, to shut the fuck up and get a lawyer.
Yep.
The benefit of the agent in the room with you when you're meeting the executive is that you're allowed to shut the fuck up, and the lawyer is allowed to do his job. The agent's allowed to do his job. So he's going to be better at making sure that this thing goes through than I am.
But again,
I'm just sitting there to look pretty and answer questions when asked.
The lesson here is that is absolutely true if the agent is sitting there to argue for you, and not to argue for his production company being in charge of this. So that's the thing. But back to the point, what would I say if I was for the ATA?
Where would you start to try and like?
I think you've already touched on it, and the only thing that you have is this is not us. We are adapting to the way that the industry has worked. Now, they negotiated with the studios earlier this year. We didn't hear a word about this, about them complaining about how this packaging thing had been set up, because when it comes to the studios, they're benefiting from the packaging. But now what they're trying to do is double deal us. They're trying to double deal you. They're trying to double deal the studios and double deal us by breaking up this packaging thing. And then they get the benefits of whatever deal they've struck with the studio, and they lose all the liabilities that they were kind of having to take on to get that deal.
Right.
And I think that is one point. And the only other point that you have is we are creating far more work. Yeah. And you just don't understand that for most of their members, they would not be working in this industry at all, because everyone, I mean, people know who John August is. People know who Craig Mazin are, because they're titans of the industry. But guy who starts out,
nobody knows.
He's only getting in there because we are bringing it into our production company and saying, we like this script. He got read. You know what? That was on the blacklist 7 years ago. No one read it. No one cared. We read it. We cared. We bought it, or we optioned it.
Yeah.
And then we put it together in a package that would sell it when no one else would even look at it.
Yeah.
And now where is that guy? Well, now he's working. Now he's a working writer, and he wouldn't be otherwise. I mean, I think that's literally your only stand is the double dealing, because there really was no mention of packaging when they negotiated with studios, and we are creating work.
Well, I mean, I think it was always on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
writers have not been happy about packaging since it started.
Yes. Yeah.
But sort of have had that like, all right, well, we're working aspect of it.
Yep.
But then as the business grows, and then I mean, like, I made a mistake. I made a mistake on a podcast early on when we were talking about how much a movie was going to make in a weekend.
Yeah.
Where I guessed, where I said something like off the top of my head, where I was just like, well, the biggest movie opening of all time was only like $100 million or something like that. But I had forgotten that in the last year, the industry had changed from like 100 million being the top end to like 250 million being and I felt like an idiot when I had said it out loud. But then I was like, yeah, but that's a reasonable. If you're a writer and you're still making the same money as you were when this thing was making $100 million as you are when this thing was making $250 million, then you got an argument to be made about where the fuck is all this extra money going?
Yeah.
Now, I get that these movies cost more money than they did before because they realize that they can spend more money and make more money as on the studio end.
Right.
But at the same time, like the people who work on the film cost money, and good people cost more money.
Yeah.
So like I don't think that they've been sort of talking about packaging but never like brought it up until now.
Well, and I think that
made an issue about it until now.
The argument against it is that the packaging has nothing to do with the studios. That's how you are presenting to the studios. Yeah. Our problem is how you are presenting to the studios. Because you know what? I bet you, William Morris, they would still take your meeting if you weren't packaging. If you said, hey, I got this kid and he's writing a fantastic script, and everybody, by the way, everyone in ATA
just
was
picking up the phone and going like, hey, Sony, I got something that's right up your alley.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they are still going to take that meeting. That doesn't matter. It doesn't benefit you, but it still benefits the studios. And what are we going to negotiate with them? They're not going to take packaging?
Yeah.
So we are going to rename it and we're going to redo it, and then it means nothing. Like, I think their argument is that they're starting where they should.
I mean, I think that if I was arguing on the side of the ATA or APA, ATA, just God damn it,
you almost got it.
Yeah,
almost got it.
If I was arguing on the side of the ATA, I would maybe sort of bring up the idea that nobody has stopped us yet.
Yeah.
So this is like, like the U.S. definitely shut down fucking Paramount and all the other studios when Lake Icarus flew too close to the sun. But nobody from the Justice Department is here saying break this shit up.
I would not do that. And you know why?
Well, I mean, the reason why I say that might be a way to go is because in today's market, the way that corporations are structured, you can't really, I mean, like, you can't break up AT&T because they don't own enough in any one particular part of any market, but they have their hands in so many different markets. So they don't have a monopoly on entertainment, but they have one of the 5 companies that have 85% of the market share,
Have you seen Elizabeth Warren's new bill?
Oh, yes, I have.
So
breaking up Facebook and Google and stuff like that.
She may disagree with you that they may not need to have a true monopoly, that they can have a statistical monopoly.
I think just as a side note, I think Elizabeth Warren is fighting quite the uphill battle with that one.
Yeah.
That is going to be to be honest, I don't even understand how the fuck that would work. Like
she's basically just rewriting the whole law.
I mean, it didn't happen. I mean, like even when Microsoft got broken up,
that
didn't change anything. No. It just created a new I mean, like essentially what happened when Microsoft got broken up is what the studios have been doing forever.
Yeah.
Where Fox, the company of Fox owns 20th Century Fox and Fox Searchlight and all these little things.
Yeah.
And that's how they get around like, well, the production side doesn't have anything to do with we just have the same board of governors. We don't.
We are producing what we think is best, and we may strike out and not get anything on the air.
Yeah.
That statistically never happened, though. I mean, you've had pretty good odds. Well, I mean, we're really good at picking shows. I don't know what to tell you. Really good at it. So, no, she does have an uphill battle. But the bigger reason, though, I wouldn't say that is because I can guarantee you the first time that ATA makes that argument, the very next day, newsflash, out of the Southern District of California, Justice Department opens up an investigation into packaging. And then the guy from ATA is just like, nah, well, fuck. All right. Turns out to...
Well, I guess the only thing I had possibly to save me on this is now out, so...
Yeah, I mean, because I think
he just bends over and grabs his ankle. He's like, go ahead, writers.
Nah, it's the kind of thing where, like, if... the only problem, the biggest thing that could happen is that you draw too much attention to this thing that is possibly illegal and probably violates the NLRB rules. Yeah. So,
and violates the last thing I'll say on this is that the agents, technically, to be allowed to be agents, have to be licensed through the state of California.
Yes.
Much like a lawyer has to be licensed through the bar.
Yes.
So it would be a interesting that, I mean, really it's the only long touchdown. It's the only Hail Mary they have in their arsenal.
Yeah.
But it's also like this could end up so spectacularly wrong at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just I'm really interested in seeing where this goes because it could mean another writer strike.
Yep.
Which would be very bad for everybody.
Yep.
And
especially on the heels of the last one. Yeah.
Anyway. So that we'll keep you filled in on that information a little bit more as we go. I know we're running a bit.
We are, and I'm going to touch on two things and then get into the last topic. Okay. Two things we wanted to make sure you know about. Number one, tonight as we're recording this on Monday night, Michael Harrison, the interim Baltimore City police chief, was affirmed unanimously by the board. So he will be, in fact, Baltimore's next police chief, the replacement for Daryl D'Souza. And I have to say I'm not unhappy. I think what I've seen thus far has been good.
Yeah, I really want him to get what I would really like, now that we have him in the job officially, now that it's the ink has dried on this thing, I would like a let's leave him the fuck alone and let him do his job kind of approach. And I say that not only for the city council and not only for the mayor, but the FOP as well.
Yes.
Everyone just needs to shut the fuck up, let him come up with this plan, and then execute it.
I do think...
I'm so... it's not the same thing, but it's like when you have a manager in sports or a coach and you see the front office like stepping on them all the time. It's just just let them do their job. Let them do the part that they're good at and just leave them the fuck alone. Like,
I do think the unanimous consent is good because that means some of the more liberal voices that are on the Baltimore City Council may be ready to do that. They may finally have hope that this is actually somebody who wants to bring reform.
Like a real adult.
Yes. Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, now that we got an adult in the room, we're going to let you do your thing. And we might not agree with everything, but we're going to let it play out and see what happens.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you posted on that. Also,
I think it's more important to let him sort of have the autonomy to do what he needs to do and fail and then fix it rather than try and get in his way so he doesn't fail, because that's going to be the way that you end up losing here in the end.
Yeah, and I think that the difference is that for the last few, we kind of saw that there was no real
There were
plan.
chinks in the armor.
Yeah, there was no real plan and no real hope. So it's like we got to jump in right at the beginning.
Right.
But anyway, also another story coming out of Maryland. Adnan Syed, unfortunately, his conviction was reinstated by the Maryland Court of Appeals. I have not had a chance to read the decision. Also, this is what I'm thinking about now. This week, we should watch the case against Adnan Syed on HBO.
Well, so I started watching part 1, which is the only one that's up right now.
Oh, that's right. They're doing it week by week.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll watch part 1, do a little into the actual decision, and we'll come back and talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Because I do want to talk about Adnan Syed. I feel like it's been such a huge thing in the last few weeks. But we're just short on time today. So
my quick thought, just with it having just happened, what upsets me the most is just, and this upsets everybody who's involved in the criminal justice system at all, is how goddamn long it would take for the next step in the process to take part. I mean, he's already been in jail for 18 years now or something like that.
Yep,
like
18 years.
So, we've already gone through so long for him to just get this point where his conviction gets looked at and whether or not it could be overturned. And then on top of that, the next step, because it has to go to federal court, right?
But yep, now we're doing a habeas petition in federal district court.
Right.
And that hearing will actually happen pretty fast, but the likelihood that they do it's really like
it's like it's the same sort of thing though with the petition to the Court of Appeals that just happened, where it's like, we're going to do our official petition to the court. The judges are going to ask us questions about it, and then they're going to retire, and then sometime several months from now, we'll hear about what happens.
And the likelihood is they are going to, well, it's probably before one judge, not a panel. And that judge is going to say, I find no reason to overturn the state. And then it'll go before a panel. And that panel will say, we find no reason to overturn the state. And then when you appeal it, that's when you finally start to get to the merits. So then you have a federal appeal, and that's on your way up to the Supreme Court. So it's a long, stupid process that really shouldn't take as long as it does, but it will.
Well, and the number of times where this time last year, there were people talking about well, are they just going to release Adnan? Are they just going to, are they going to appeal this? And or can he just go? Is he free to go now? Cause I remember when what court was it that basically
Court of Special Appeals
overturned the conviction?
Yeah, upheld the overturning.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then it seemed like that was it for a lot of people. But people who understand how the justice system works are like, no.
Well, the difficulty was the dissenting opinion in the Court of Special Appeals, because then it almost certainly had to be heard by the Court of Appeals, because they can't have a Court of Special Appeals overturning with a dissent. They like to keep things nice and concise, because in Maryland that's how we do it, which was our first problem. Also, I haven't read the opinion, but what I've heard about it is that there is shaky logic that basically they said, we don't know if we want to open up this door of people coming back and being able to get overturned on these grounds. So we are going to do something very unfair to this person to shut out the chance that anyone else will try this.
Well, I mean, you'd be setting up any case that has basically been decided by cell phone tracking data and stuff like that, or cell tower things. Mm-hmm. And you'd also be, the ineffective assistance to counsel thing is something that literally every single appeal is based off of. That's something that's going to be written in every single appeal hearing. Well, but the idea that this case is so heavily based off of the idea that Adnan's lawyer was not looking out for him.
I think the cell phone evidence is less of an issue because the judge didn't find for that below. And the Court of Appeals said that we're not going to rule on that because the judge didn't find it. Yeah. The bigger thing, the real big thing isn't cell phone evidence. It's that if anyone in the future might find that someone could have offered a exculpatory evidence or an alibi, and the lawyer doesn't chase down every lead that isn't at the time an alibi, but could in the future become an alibi, that is a very wide door to open up. Yeah. And I understand that that's a wide door to open up, but that's why lawyers need to do due diligence and contact every witness that your client gives you. The problem was that Cristina Gutierrez didn't do that, and then said that she did and told the family that she did, but in all likelihood, according to the witness, did not. Yeah. And then the state lied about it twice in court about the circumstances, but nonetheless, we'll get into it a little bit more after. I want to read the opinion and see what they had to say. But I don't want people to miss out on the topic of the week, the one that I'm sure everyone has been sitting on their edge of their seats waiting to hear from Cory about, because he's so righteously full of anger, posted on Friday that he would bring it up on the podcast this week. So you have approximately 5 minutes.
This is quite a topic to get into in 5 minutes.
We could probably go a little longer than that. But so, of course, we're talking about the Trump executive order that you saw Cory tweet at. Where would they find that tweet?
At LegendsEV5.
As you'll see right down below his name over there. And the executive order said that there will no longer be public disclosure of civilians killed in airstrikes. And now, this is a general rule, but really what this applies to is drone strikes, because that's the only airstrikes we really do anymore. Yeah. And you were very wound up about it.
Yeah, and as I've been very wound up about it for years now, when Obama finally left office, we had a conversation about where his place in presidential legacy and stuff like that was. Right. And I remember continuously reiterating that Obama is for me, very conflicted. It's a very conflicted case because he did things that I felt were good, and I feel like he did things that he was looking out for the best interest of as many people as he possibly could when he did them. But then he also did some things that are completely inexcusable and literally war crimes that are not being charged. And we can't I get pretty tired of talking with Democrats about Obama and how he was the perfect president and how he never did anything wrong and how, it's such a incredible fall that we've had from, we went from the lows of W to the highs of Obama and now we're in the lows of Trump again. And I'm just like, listen, Bush started the drone strikes. He started doing it because the argument was, why are we going to put American service people into danger by having them fly over these places where they could shoot us down with anti-aircraft missiles and stuff like that, and put the lives of American soldiers at risk to get a terrorist? Like, we know that a certain terrorist is in Kabul in this little village, and we can get him right now, and then we eliminate the third in command to Al-Qaeda, and it's done. Yeah. Then, after those things first started, there was a little bit of a ruckus because they would say that there was an airstrike and we took out the fourth in command to Al-Qaeda, but we also killed 12 civilians.
Including 7 children.
Right. And then people would be like, oh, well, I mean, we got the terrorists, so I guess it's worth it. And, it's one of those things like we've had we've had conversations in the past about like what is an acceptable amount of collateral damage. Yeah. And it always sort of comes to a case by case basis. Like if there was a school shooting and you had a public resource officer who had a gun and then he starts firing to try and get the guy who's shooting, but he accidentally kills another kid, an innocent kid. You're not going to say the resource officer should go to jail for murder for killing the kid that he shot by accident.
I don't know.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like most reasonable people wouldn't say that.
I'm not very reasonable.
Because they would say like, well, he wasn't intending to kill an innocent person. He was trying to disarm a situation and save more lives. And maybe even though that one kid died, he saved more lives by shooting that one kid inadvertently than would have died otherwise. And that's like sort of the argument they always made about like, we killed the fourth in command in Al-Qaeda. He was responsible in some way or another for thousands of deaths. Yeah. And by killing 12 people along with him, we took care of him, so we don't have to worry about thousands of lives going.
You are skipping a step, though, which is
also killed the 12 fucking people.
And then the next step is we killed 70 people at a wedding. Yeah. And it turns out the fourth in command of Al-Qaeda actually skipped the wedding and decided not to go. So our information was bad and our eyes on the ground were bad and we killed a bunch of civilians and we didn't get the guy. Yeah. I mean, that's really the ones that are like the worst.
Well, and the number of foreign countries which we have sold this drone technology to, that are using it for completely irresponsible means. Like it as irresponsible as it sounds to kill 12 people to get one terrorist. The idea of giving like Saudi Arabia drones, and then what was the one that just happened not too long ago? There was like a school bus full of kids who got like gunned down by a Saudi Arabian drone that was sold to them by U.S.
Yep. Again, Yemen, because they do not give a fuck.
Yeah, and it was a bus full of fucking school children, and like, I'm trying to tell you, I'm not trying to be unreasonable about this, but if you're killing dozens of innocent people on every single one of these drone strikes to get one terrorist, you need to really seriously consider what you're doing, because. The people, we have a school shooting or something like that, and we see crying kids on the news, and every single one of them talks about like, my girlfriend was just shot, and I don't know how I'm gonna, like, this has changed my life forever, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, or like my little brother died today at the school shooting, and he was such a bright kid, and I thought maybe he could be a lawyer or president one day, or like you hear all these stories about distraught families and stuff like that. That's part one of like why drone strikes are fucking awful. Yeah. The second part is much like we've had conversations about like upheaval in Central America and U.S. forces coming down and trying to sort out some sort of banana republic government that they have going on in Central or South America, and how every single time you do that, you cause more people who want to flee that country and come to America because you completely upended their lives. If we are going out there and killing 12 people to get one terrorist, then you're just creating a dozen new people who want to become terrorists because you killed my brother who was doing nothing wrong except sitting there eating an orange and got droned to death because...
They may not want to become terrorists, but certainly when the Al-Qaeda recruiter comes in and says, look how heartless the Americans are, they killed your brother.
The sympathy for the United States is gone once you kill somebody's brother. Like that's just and you want to create a place, especially in like places where the Middle East, Central America, places where there's Asia, like the Eastern Front of Asia and stuff like that. There's the places where you want to make it seem like America is the knight on the hill, like the one who's really going to sort this all out. And if there's some sort of wrong anywhere in the world, America's going to be there to try and make things right, not to just randomly kill a bunch of people. Yeah. And honestly, the reason why Trump did this is because he knows that there's too many fucking Trump news stories that come out every single goddamn day that we're going to be distracted by it immediately. The second part is he knows that people don't give a shit enough. Like nobody's, like when we had a women's march and stuff like that, it's because the level of discourse that involved women and sexual harassment and, unfair, not getting paid as much as men do, blah, 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 blah. Every single issue that was brought up at a women's march was because it had gotten to a point where people were so fed up that they needed to do something. And nobody else is beating the drum on drones because, honest to God, most people don't even fucking think about it. Yeah. And it's chilling and horrible and should be the last possible use of force in any kind of situation as opposed to the first, And
just keep this in mind.
It should be the last thing that we do before we invade somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Or like literally, you have no other options. We have to get this guy. We can't reach him any other way. He's in the mountains of Afghanistan, and we can't get people there, and we don't have any local assets on the ground. This is all we can do. Great. Well, we're going to invade anyway, so let's go in and do it. I get that.
And furthermore, I mean, we talk a lot about jurisprudence today.
Yeah.
Adnan went to trial. At the very least, he went to trial. He had a lawyer. He had a jury that convicted him. He had a judge that was there to call balls and strikes. There was a system in place that he was allowed to operate in to try and prove his innocence. It didn't work out for him. Yeah. And we've gone through a lot of steps to try and right that wrong, if you will. But the idea is that at some point he stood trial and somebody heard the evidence against him. When you're killing a terrorist and 12 other random people who have no women and children who just were there at the time, there's no due process. There's no, what did this guy do? It's a shadowy group of people who meet in a conference room of army generals and stuff like that. And they say we really need to get this guy. And it's like, well, where is he he's going to be at this wedding. Well, let's fucking drone the wedding. Yeah. What's the point?
My point was going to be that exact thing. It's extrajudicial killings. So, and by the way, they have killed Americans on foreign soil using drones. So, for whatever it's worth, I guess they label them enemy combatants first, so that then the Constitution doesn't apply to them.
Right.
Because, by the way, the Constitution applies to an American citizen no matter where they are.
Yeah.
If the American government arrests you in Saudi Arabia, they cannot torture you. And in fact, you have the right to an attorney in Saudi Arabia so long as it's the Americans who are holding you. And actually, as men, we probably have a right to an attorney in Saudi Arabia either way, but not important. But if they say, hey, you're an enemy combatant, according to the defense... what was that? Is it DACA? No, not DACA. Defense Reauthorization Act. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The National Defense.
It was the National Defense Authorization Act of 2015.
NDAA, yes. Yeah. The NDAA, which recategorized anyone as an enemy combatant, so long as the American government says you're an enemy combatant.
Yeah.
So they say, okay, you are an American, but you're in Yemen, and you may or may not be fighting for the terrorists, so we're going to label you an enemy combatant and then drone you in an extrajudicial killing, not upholding due process or any other things, and you're dead now. And you know, no ability to prove that you weren't doing that you weren't just at your cousin's wedding.
By the way, if you're somebody who's listening to this right now in the Baltimore County region, and you're saying like, oh my God, this is horrible, and I don't understand why this would be allowed to be voted for. That National Defense Authorization Act was co-sponsored by Dutch Rupersberger, who I've been getting on his case about drone strikes ever since. So, feel free to vote out Dutch Rupersberger.
Yes.
At any given point in time. I don't give a shit if that happens.
And aside from that, the actual
because he has as much blood on his hands as anybody else. If he's co-sponsoring the bill that allowed this shit to happen.
You're a Democrat. You could have stood up against that nonsense. And
that's the worst part. It's not. This isn't a party thing. No. This is just a general human rights thing and a general like. I part of the reason why I like America, even when I don't like America, is the fact that we have processes that allow us to. If I get charged with a crime, I have an opportunity. I have my day in court to say that I'm not guilty of this crime. And legally speaking, I'm supposed to be considered innocent up until the moment that they prove that I am guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So if I get arrested for murder, then nobody can really hold that against. I mean, people will, but nobody can really hold that against you up until the point where they convict you of that crime.
Yes.
This is why people want to live in America as opposed to living in North Korea or something like that, where you don't get the chance of due process. You don't get the chance to prove you're right or wrong. You just die. You just get shot by the state. And if we're going to get to the point where we're allowing that to be the modus operandi of U.S. foreign policy all across the world, where due process is just thrown out, then you're going to throw out the ability of people to say that America is a just country and that we really stand for what we believe. And I think that for as many problems as it has, because everything has problems, but for as many problems as the court system and jurisprudence in this country has, it's still a model by which almost every other nation in the world looks at how a judicial system should work.
Right.
It's the gold standard. And while it can certainly be better, we should not be giving up the high ground at any point to make things more convenient for ourselves. I think that if there's a terrorist you want to kill, we sent in SEAL Team 6 for Bin Laden.
Sure.
He was shot and killed at the time.
Yep.
That's fine. We knew who Bin Laden was. There was enough of a case that was brought before the American people that it was deemed acceptable that he was able to be shot without a trial. If they could have brought him in, they would have.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't an assassination. That was going to arrest him to bring him in.
Yeah, but then when there was backfire, then it's just the same as if the police go to arrest somebody and then that person starts shooting at the police, then I get it. I know where you're going, but I'm saying people will understand if somebody gets shot in an interaction with police while they were trying to arrest you.
Oh yeah, the dude who tried to stab the cop and the cop shot him. And everybody's like, he technically he did stab the cop.
Yeah, and the cop was saying, "I'm going to arrest you," or you're under arrest. There's a difference between just all of a sudden you're walking along and then drones fucking.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. If you're of the mind where you're saying it's okay, I'd rather a terrorist die and 12 innocent people every single time this happens. I guess we're just morally on different sides of the topic. But you're also setting up the world that 15 years from now, rather than worrying about waking up to a nuclear mushroom cloud outside, we could just have a drone flying over from North Korea or Russia or China or any company or any country that we become on the bad side of.
Yeah.
And just, living so close to City Hall here in LA, there's a very likely chance that we would be a target for a nuclear attack or a drone attack. And if you're not going to put your foot down and say that this is unacceptable now, then you're just going to open up the world where drone strikes are everywhere. and they're taking out innocent people for the sport of it.
And I would say that the kind of final point, if it's gotten to the point that an executive order is necessary to hide the number of civilians being killed, how many civilians do you think are being killed?
Yeah. Well, that's the other. I mean, like, you know, we when Bush did it, it was, you know, this terrorist died as well as 4 other people.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, God, 4 people. Jesus Christ. But I guess we got that terrorist. So, you know, I don't know what number is acceptable for me, but that feels like that can be reasoned with. And then Obama comes along and it's 12 people per drone strike.
Yeah.
And you're just like, Jesus Christ, that seems like way too many. But, you know, maybe these criminals are doing like, you know, or these terrorists are doing like criminals do back here, where it's like, if I'm selling drugs, if I have a drug enterprise in West Baltimore, I'm getting as many fucking kids around me as possible.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go to fucking jail. They know they're not going to go to fucking jail. And I can protect myself a little bit by putting a buffer of children between me.
And when the cops pull up, the guns stay in their holsters because I'm surrounded by 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
So, you know, you get to that point where you're just like, God, well, my goalpost is moved on how many acceptable people are allowed to die. But Trump has taken the drone strikes, and I don't think Trump knows anything about this. I think he's just letting the generals go hog wild on it. But the number of people who have been killed in drone strikes during the Trump administration has been a shocking new high. There were, God, what was the one I just read not too long ago? There was like 27 people who were killed in a drone strike that didn't bring down an enemy combatant either. And it's like, you just killed 27 random people for no reason.
And just imagine you're hanging out with a bunch of your friends at a bowling alley and you don't hear it. Just all of a sudden the roof explodes and all of you are, and 20 of your friends around you are dead.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what happened? Oh, well, Russia thought that an anti-Russian terrorist was at your bowling alley.
Yeah.
And so they drone strike the bowling alley to kill him. It didn't get him because he wasn't there, but killed 20 of your friends. What is the likelihood that you are then going to be like, you know what, fuck Russia, and maybe I'm going to be an anti-Russian terrorist now?
Yeah. Well, and so what's most important is this is sort of like when net neutrality happened. There was only so much that we, the American people, could do by causing noise and problems. But if you're really serious about this and you want this to change, we have the 2020 election coming up. Mm-hmm. So if you have the opportunity to watch anybody talk about drones, or have the opportunity to go to like a candidate town hall or something like that and ask, if you say to Elizabeth Warren, like, what do you think about drones? And she says, like, well, I don't like it, but I think that's the place that we live in now, and we have to do that. I don't know if that's Elizabeth Warren's position. I'm just sort of throwing it out there. But I'm saying, like, if she says that, then you have to say, I can't vote for Elizabeth Warren. Yeah. Because that's my, to me, that is my, like, at the end of the day, that is, I'm of really deciding wise, there's only a couple issues that really matter to me. And you have to stand on my side on that issue, or I just will not vote for you, regardless of what else you say. Yeah. And for me, drones is one of them. And I implore everybody who hears the sound of my voice to make that a important issue for you, because it is only going to end up with drone warfare on this side, in our country, eventually. If we allow this to become the new normal, and it may be too late, but at least we can go out there and say that.
Well, that was the 20-minute version of the 5-minute recap.
Sorry. If you want the 20-minute version of every 5-minute recap, you know where you can go.
Where's that?
OTheanthem.com. Cory to OTheanthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. And you can find more of me at my website, CoryBakerFilmmaker.com. Facebook.com/CoryBakerFilm, at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I want to go see Captain Marvel this week.
Yeah, I think we should go see it tomorrow.
I would be down for that as well. Yep. So review for Captain Marvel will come shortly thereafter. And maybe, just maybe, there will be a podcast element of the reviews going forward. So listen more for that next week, because I imagine if it gets done this week, it's going to... It'll be discussed on the podcast next week if I do it.
Yes. And of course, you can find more of me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com. You can find links to my political blog, the news website, and the books which are available on Amazon.
Barrow's books.
I think you still need to figure out that whole
font
font situation. Yeah. It's like every time I don't remember the things I have to do, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I got a lot done today, and I'm like, nope, I forgot about all that stuff.
It's like I had a question for Myra that I keep thinking about like every once in a while.
Yeah,
and then I saw her. Like she was over here at the apartment and they were about to leave. And then I remembered it and I'm just like, hey, wait, before you all leave, I need Myra.
Yeah.
I need to talk about something that I could have texted her any point and just completely forgot about all the time. So,
I know that some of you may be upset. We'll try to find next week time to play which pop star is more terrible, 90s edition.
Oh, yes.
So I'll try to finish up that documentary as well.
Seeing as Michael Jackson and R. Kelly are back in the news for their various diddlings.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I think we've done good here
today. We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Cory, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
And remember, war criminals are both Republicans and Democrats.
And guillotine doesn't care. It cuts both ways. I'm so tired.